Hey everyone, welcome back to the Track Limits podcast. I'm your host Swish with my co-host Henny.
That's good.
We're in rainy UK.
We're back.
We're back. What's new though? It's raining in the UK obviously when we come. That being said, to be able to put all of that rain aside and bring a smile to my face is an incredible guest, an individual you might have seen as part of the incredible group Quadrant. You probably also know that this is an individual who's taking his talents in sim racing to the real life road tracks around the world. And we're really excited to deep dive with Steve Alvarez Brown. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you for having me on the show, and welcome to July in the UK. Really cold, really wet.
It makes no sense. We're here in January, same thing. We're here in July, same thing.
Henny hates the UK. I would like to put that out there. Yeah, I love it. But to be fair, the rain does get to me as well. Come on.
Yeah, if there's another place you would move, where would it be?
Oh,
that's a good question. It's really, where would I move? I think it'd probably have to be English speaking.
Okay, yep.
But I don't know. I have family in Hawaii.
Oh,
that'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
All year long, Hawaii?
I think Canada, but yeah.
Oh, God. No, that's worse.
Don't go there. But yeah, Hawaii's great. Steve, thank you for coming on. I obviously have a bit of an introduction. Was there anything I missed? Was there anything that you look back on now? You've had a great career so far. Is there anything that you're super proud about, moments that have defined where you are now?
I'm really happy to be where I am. Full-time YouTuber now, like in the last few years, a racing driver. I think I can say that, racing at the Nürburgring. So there's been a lot of really cool moments over my now 13 years of making videos on YouTube. Probably too many to pick out. But yeah, in the last couple of years, racing at the Nürburgring has been absolutely amazing. So just to be able to say, yeah, I'm a racing driver and I'm doing the thing I've always wanted to do, that's amazing.
Wow. And what does that day-to-day look like for you now?
Okay, so I mean, it's a bit mixed. I'll be honest, like the last 2 weeks, I've been very busy. Like I've been moving into London. I lived just outside of London before that. But in general, it's a case of recording lots of content, playing lots of Gran Turismo is the main thing I do.
Let's go.
And then splicing it all together, a lot of editing. Probably the editing takes a lot more time than actually recording it.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of time spent in a dark room on my own editing videos, which isn't as glamorous as what YouTube obviously looks like from the outside. But that's kind of a normal day to day, lots of emails and lots of talking to my talent agency or, just that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's a lot of admin and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't change it. It's a job I love doing and want to keep doing.
Yeah. And you do all the editing yourself, or do you have like a team?
Yeah, I know this is one of those things. A lot of people these days are like, kind of amazed that I do it myself. Although, someone like Matt Armstrong, very big YouTuber at the moment in the automotive world, he edits a lot of his stuff. But yeah, most people these days get someone else, they outsource that instantly. Yeah. But I don't know, I really like controlling the creative direction of the video, like myself. Yeah. And it's really hard for me to tell someone else how to do that exactly. Because that's kind of the theme of my videos. They just follow the weird humor I had in my head, and it's almost like hard to replicate.
Yeah.
So yeah, I still do it.
That's amazing.
And when it came to becoming a YouTuber, when you started off, like, did you have a full idea over like all the work it takes, or was there any like surprises along the way that was like, whoa, this is way more work than I thought it'd be?
Yeah, I mean, when I set out to do YouTube, or let's say just to upload some videos, this was 2011. This was a very different time. I had zero intention of it becoming a full-time job. So I didn't really know what I was getting myself in for. I kind of just did it very casually. But then, as it gets a bit more serious and you start getting traction, you start getting views, and you think, oh, okay, this could actually lead to something quite good here if I just really push it. Then you realize, wow, I need to like start putting in more and more hours and like sacrificing sleep and social life and things like that. So in the beginning, no, you don't really have the intention for it to be a job. But as time goes on, you really realize actually it's not just sitting there and editing and recording. It's just all the other things like maintaining your social media presence, like formulating a tweet that's got to go out, or an Instagram post, or answering emails, or, trying to get sponsorship deals. So there's just like
a lot.
8, 9, 10 different things that you need to do as a YouTuber, aside from just making the videos.
Yeah. And what did you find that was very different from when you first started back in 2011 to when creating content now in YouTube?
Yeah, I mean, YouTube is so different. Yeah. It's like a completely different world now. I think now sort of being a YouTuber is a thing that people are aware of.
Yeah.
Like you ask a kid, what do you want to be when you're older? They'll probably say YouTuber. Like a lot of them will say that. But in 2011, not many people were really making a living out of it.
Of course.
Maybe a few were, but it wasn't really a thing. It wasn't something that you looked at and thought, well, I really want to do that. Or I really think I can make a career out of it. You do it for fun. And then, I don't know, content is so big now. Like anyone and pretty much everyone is trying to do it, which is really good. I really like that everyone is kind of, there's a low barrier of entry that everyone can try it and give it a go. So it's just like the way that we think of what a YouTuber is and how big it is completely different.
Yeah, that's true.
And when it came to Quadrant, even before we talk about how that whole experience came about, were you collaborating with other creators while you were growing in 2011, 2012, 2013, etc.?
Maybe not right in the beginning.
Yeah.
I think at the beginning I was trying to collaborate with a lot of people, but you don't always get listened to. Or you don't always get that.
Who
DM.
are those people? Tell us.
You send that DM.
Who are those people?
Call them out.
You get that DM. You send the DM, you don't get the reply. But I mean, back in the day, I think collaborating was a thing that a lot of people tried to do to, check out the other guy's channel, and then you all just grow together.
Yeah.
I can't really think of exact people that I did collaborate with, but it's always been. You know what? I think a big part of YouTube is just like formulating friendships and understandings with other YouTubers, just so that everyone's aware of everyone. So I've got some like really good relationships with other YouTubers. Like someone like Jimmy Broadbent, really big the biggest sim racing YouTuber in the world, I would say. We make content together, just and then it's just, it might not even be making videos, it might just be talking to each other on Twitter, just having a back and forth in the DM, whatever it is. So I think it's just a really good idea to collaborate, not always just videos, but just so you can speak to people and you have a question about something, they probably know more than you. So it's always a good idea just to have as many friends within the space as possible, I would say.
And even in talks of collaborating with these content creators, how do you guys maintain your creativity? Like, does that ever clash, or you're like, oh, well, I really like my idea better. Can we do that? Like, how does that collaboration work?
It can be tricky. I mean, a lot of us YouTubers are kind of used to having our own thing. Yeah. Like my channel is mine, and I will do it how I want to do it. And then obviously everyone else will do their channel how they want to do it. Yeah. But then when you collaborate, I mean, let's say with Quadrant, we always have fun on the shoots, right? But it can be tricky when you put 7 people together and then you're all trying to kind of get your joke in. You're trying to be funnier than the other guy, but you're all trying to shout and get, you're all trying to be heard. Yeah. So, it can be difficult. I've always been quite a quiet person. And so sometimes it's hard for me to get my word in. Someone like Niran in Quadrant or Arav, they're very loud. Vocal, so it can be hard to kind of collaborate in that sense. Yeah. But I think we all understand each other. We all kind of give each other time and a chance to speak. Yeah. And then it comes down to the edit as well. As long as the person editing it can, right? He hasn't had any. He hasn't said anything. Right? Let's give him. Let's give them a bit of screen time. Yeah. So it's just a bit of we all understand each other, and you do have to compromise a bit, and when you're working together,
of course.
And then what drew you to Quadrant? Do you remember the moment you found out about the opportunity, where you were, and how did you think about the pros and cons in terms of joining an organization like that?
This was summer of 2020, so this is sort of like lockdown kind of time. Yeah. This was an email from the management of Quadrant, and they were looking at my content at the time. I was doing a lot of karting, sort of in real life content, and then sim racing as well. So it was a nice fusion of real and sim. Yeah. And then they kind of, off the back of that, they asked, look, we got this really cool thing coming up. Lando Norris is part of it. We're going to make videos together. And normally I'm really kind of very careful about joining things. Yeah. But this was, I don't know, it was just too good. The chance to make content directly with an F1 driver. Right. And not just like any F1 driver. It's just like a very good F1 driver who's, going to have really cool moments in the future. He's going to have a very good career. That was too hard to pass up, And one of my favorite videos I've done is a 1v1 against Lando on a kart track. And it's got 2.5 million views, something like that. Yeah. So, you know, the chance to do that is just, that was on its own the thing that I said, yeah, I got to do this. I can't say no, really. But yeah, since then, you know, we've had so many amazing moments. We've traveled to so many races, F1 races, so many cool events. I've done really cool things that I never would have thought I'd ever do, and put myself out of my comfort zone. So yeah, Quadrant's been amazing. You know, it's been a really cool experience to be able to join, and yeah, hopefully we can have plenty more of the same kind of thing.
Yeah, outside of that Lando versus you kart racing, is there any other memorable moments that you have with Quadrant?
Yeah, I mean, it's been really funny. You know, I remember the Hot One shoot.
Oh God, we heard about this.
One of the best.
We went to Lando's house, and like Lando is you know, he's obviously a world-class athlete, and he's quite restricted on what he can and can't do and say and eat and whatever. But there he is. He's eating the chili. Like, I think it's called de bomb. It is like horrifically hot.
Yeah.
And like, unless you're sort of constantly eating ice cream, you are dying.
On fire.
Like, you are on fire.
We've done the bod before.
So
It's really bad.
it's horrific, isn't it? So there's Lando sort of scooping ice cream, and it's like, I'm pretty sure he can't really do that as an athlete.
No.
You know, just scoop ice cream, like a massive tub, and he's just going through it.
His trainer's in the corner,
Yeah,
like,
he's trying
oh,
to-
mate.
There goes his weight limit.
What
That's
are you
going to
doing?
take 4 weeks to undo that. So, you know, that was a really funny moment. And another one would be going to Abu Dhabi 21. We went to that.
Oh, wow.
Sort of, that's the biggest race in the last,
Yeah.
maybe in F1 history.
Sure, yeah.
We were there. It was absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
So, you know, moments like that, it is pretty wild.
And you obviously race in real life. I'm actually curious why the decision to go into that. Has that been a childhood dream for you? Because a lot of people would be content just being really good on the sim, which you are. But to then take that and be like, you know, I'm going to start as a beginner again. Like, you know, not saying you're a beginner, but like you are technically taking your talents in the sim and now starting fresh on the road. Like, why go and do that?
Yeah, I mean, bottom line is I love racing.
Yeah.
I always want to race. Obviously, doing it on a sim is the easiest way to do that. Pretty much everyone, you know, you don't even have to get a sim rig. You can just do it on a controller.
Yeah.
So, you know, most people can just do that. But it got to a point where I really wanted to just take it to another level with the content and just with how I am as a driver. So a couple of years ago, we did the UKCs, like a big national karting championship in the UK. That took me to another level. And then the year after, we started car racing. And that progressed into last year racing at the Nürburgring. And yeah, I mean, one, obviously, is for the content. It's amazing content to be able to go there and do that. But I've always wanted to race any chance I get to get behind the wheel of a car. You know, I'm going to do it and take it and hope that I can become a better driver. And I don't know, in the future, it might lead to something better where, you know, got a full-time race seat for multiple years on end. But yeah, it's just what I always wanted to do.
Yeah.
I always wanted to race, and I just love it that much.
Yeah.
So it wasn't going to be too long before I tried it.
Right.
At least just tried, get behind the wheel and see if it works out.
Yeah. And how do you even prepare for something that's like a real kart 24-hour race to a Nürburgring 24-hour race? What's the difference for your preparation for that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the main thing is, in general, you just have to like be sharp in your mind, be ready, be prepared. And, you know, a lot of racing, as long as you're physically ready for it, then it's all in the mind. You just got to be ready. You got to, I don't know, you just got to wake up and want to do it. You know, I've had days where I haven't eaten right and, you know, I haven't got the sleep and I don't want to be there really. But it's just a case of like, right, I'm going to take this seriously, especially like Nürburgring racing now. I've got to take it very seriously and sort of have a better diet, have good sleep, and just really want to be there.
Yeah.
And then on a sim, you know, it's the same kind of thing. I, on my channel now, got how many subs? Like over 900k subs. And it's just like, wow, this is incredible that I can make videos and this many, or a lot of people want to watch it.
Yeah.
So it's just like a realization of the position I'm in and just how fortunate I am. And I just want to make the most of it, basically.
Of course.
And there's obviously a long-standing, not debate, I'd say, but discussion around the differences between sim racing and real racing. You have real-life racing drivers, when they're on the sim, they're like, I can't feel the car through my butt, which you normally should be able to. And then even sim racing drivers get into a real car and they're like, oh my God, there's an element of fear that you don't typically get along with the G-forces. What was for you the hardest part of transitioning from online racing to real-life racing?
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said. Like, it is very different. It's not exactly the same. You know what the hardest thing? It was something you probably don't even think about, really. It's sort of, it's all the sort of procedural things.
Yeah.
It's things like, in a sim, everything's kind of perfect. You can just pause the game, exit, and then repair the car, and then leave the pit lane and go. In real life, everything's a bit more, like, you don't get told, how do I do the seatbelts up properly?
Yeah.
Like, no one tells you.
Yeah.
You just they go, right, get in the car. And like, right, how do I do it? I don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
Or I remember my very first race is at Silverstone in Mazda MX-5. I'm in the sort of support pit lane, and they go, right, drive off to the paddock.
Like, where?
Like, where's that? So I'm literally going around the paddock.
Oh, Lord.
Like, excuse me, do you know where the pit lane is? So it's just little things like that.
Yeah.
Like, you just don't. You're in this weird world where you feel like you need a helping hand.
Yeah.
You need someone to, like, here's what you need to do, mate. Because it is like this big scary world, big racetracks, and you're kind of like this little fish in a big sea, and you're kind of unsure about where to go and what to do. So that for me was actually one of the biggest or hardest things to get used to. So the idea that you're very unsure. You can't just press start race. Like, you have to actually drive to it and know where that is, get your license and like hand it in, and all these things. Just
no instant flashback.
There's no flashbacks. There's none of that, and damage is turned on as well.
Yeah, very much.
I found that out last year. Had a very bad crash in MX-5 and got the repair bill.
Yeah.
Obviously, online it doesn't really matter too much,
Yeah.
but in real life it has an actual effect.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, that'll be my answer. Just like the weird procedural kind of stuff.
Because it gets to you too. If the things that you mentioned are not going the right way, whether it's not knowing, then you're like, oh, I'm not even focused on the racing anymore. I'm focused on the little things I have to do. To
honestly,
get there.
that's such an important thing. Like, when you're behind the wheel, 100% of your attention needs to be, I am going to brake here and I'm going to turn this corner. I'm going to overtake that guy. Like, if you'll start thinking, wait, have I done my seatbelt up properly? You don't. That's not a good position to be in. Like, you don't want to be thinking about that like halfway through a race, or just anything that can distract you from the main purpose of trying to win the race. Is not a good thing.
Yeah.
You talked about the Mazda MX-5, the Miatas. We love that car series in iRacing quite a bit.
Yes.
Mikey, me, a couple of other friends have gone on. It's a not a difficult car to drive, but it is a little bit difficult, I find, with like how sensitive the braking is and like how much it steers under braking. Is that your favorite car to drive so far, or have you driven another car that you're like, that is the best car, I want to keep driving that?
It was definitely a very fun car to drive, a very fun car to race, because you are like this. And you look at the MX-5 races in the UK, and sort of the top 10 are like that. They're bumping each other up the straights. And like, it's basically 1 second from first to 10th.
Wow.
So it's really close. This year I've been driving a BMW M4 GT4.
Nice.
That for me is the best car I've driven. I absolutely love it. I've got another race coming up in August. I hope that we can race it again next year or move up to a GT3. We don't really know, but the GT4 is absolutely incredible. You kind of get into it and it just feels like, wow, I feel comfortable. I feel at home. Everything feels right. It's got the Fanatec wheel on it, which I've got at home. So everything. Oh, that's like, I knew that.
I know this.
Yeah, I know this. I know these buttons. And then like we went to Portimao in February for the first time to drive it, and kind of pull out the pit lane, and it's like making a loud noise, and then you release the pit lane button and it just goes 550 horsepower. It's like, oh my God, this is incredible.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was like, oh, I feel like very at home here. Like it doesn't feel overwhelming. So it was a really good car, like really easy to kind of adapt to and get used to, but then you can drive quite quickly without it feeling sort of too dangerous.
Yeah. And we're manifesting this right now. In the next few years, where do you want to be? series, what class,
Yeah.
what is it?
I mean, that's an amazing question. Up until this point, it's been an amazing journey, and I'm thankful for all of it. But I'd love the racing side to continue. We're racing GT4 this year. GT3 would be, for me, that's the top level. That's where you want to be. Like single-seater Formula cars, they're amazing. But for me, like where I am now, GT3 is the peak. So to race regularly at the Nürburgring in the NLS would be great. Also to perhaps do a championship like British GT. Race here in the UK again in GT3 or GT4. I'm happy, but GT3 is, for me, that's the goal. That's where it's at.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And obviously, you were due to take part in the Nuremberg 24 hours. I felt gutted for you. Obviously, I saw your post on Twitter, and it seemed like a very minor infraction that led to obviously a major consequence of being disqualified. But walk us through kind of your feelings on that, and also just what it's like to race on that track, because it looks mental.
It is the craziest circuit. Honestly, I can't quite describe how mad it is. And to be honest, how mad it is contributed to like my mistake, why I got disqualified. So for those that don't know, I was entered into the Nürburgring 24 during the Thursday qualifying. I was speeding under a code 60, so you have to be going 60 kph before you get to this point. And I was just coming through this fast section at the back of the track, and this is my first lap at night. So you can imagine it's obviously very dark, and I'm not quite used to it. I'm not used to the visibility, what I can see, what I can't see, and the visibility isn't good.
It was terrible.
I can assure you of that.
No lights,
It's terrible.
So I've gone through this fast left-right chicane called Whipperman, and it dips down, comes back up, and flings to the right. So as you're going down, like your visibility of the corner to the up and the right is really bad. And I'm just looking up at the crowd because there's like laser beams, smoke, people are shining lights everywhere. And just as I come through this chicane, I'm just looking up at that.
Yeah.
And I just missed the code 60.
Oof.
So it's completely my fault. It's my fault. I should have just like been a bit more reserved, just like backed off a bit and just like, it's my first lap. It doesn't matter too much. It's just, it was actually an out lap. So it really had no
bearing
on anything.
All,
And then finished the session, and then I see our car pop up, car 150 under investigation for speeding under code 60. And thought, I did catch up with a car quite quickly at that. that might be me. That might be me. And I mean, like, nothing happened, but I understand, at the Nürburgring, it's one of the crazy things like you're saying, because the track is so long, they can't just do a traditional safety car. They have code 60 sections. This section, you have to go slow. There's people on the track. They're fixing the barrier or removing a car. So I have to understand, there's people on the track. You have the safety has to be maintained. So I'm not going to argue it. It's just a frustrating moment. But I mean, to be completely selfish, the race was only 7 hours. No one was happy with it. So I didn't really miss out too much. And hopefully it means we can go again next year and really go for it.
Redeem yourself.
And it must be incredible though to see people then, like, I mean, Max, right? Imola comes around and he's not only racing the F1 Grand Prix, but he's on the Nürburgring 24 hours on the sim. Like, does your respect for that sort of achievement just go through the roof, given that you've also managed both?
It does. But when you're at a race weekend, it's hard enough just focusing on what you have to do. Well, I need to get the right start. I need to do this on this corner. I need to like use these settings. Just thinking of all these things that you've got to do and getting the right sleep and all this kind of stuff without having to do a Nürburgring 24 hours at the same time. Like one or the other is enough. But Max Verstappen going and doing both, he is absolutely crazy. I really respect him, honestly, because he is clearly someone who just loves racing. He loves racing. He wants to race. He always wants to do it. He's really good. And to be honest, I think past F1 in however many years' time, I can imagine him going and racing at the Nürburgring in GT3 cars, because I think he has his GT3 team now, doesn't he?
Yeah. Redline.
So I wouldn't be surprised if we find him over there at some point in however many years that might be.
And I mean, talking about sim racing, I know this year we've had, at least in the F1 season, we have had some very controversial season, let's just say. What do you think about that? I would love to get an opinion from someone who does iRacing and also does F1 to be like, there needs to be some kind of change that needs to happen in the F1 esports series.
Wait, esports series or the actual F1?
The esports series.
Esports series.
Yeah.
I've not watched too much of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw the drama obviously with like Jarno and like Thomas Ronhaar.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's interesting to look into, but hopefully they didn't detract too much from the actual racing. Yeah, in terms of F1 esports, it's hard for me to really give too much of a judgment on it because I haven't like really watched too much of it.
Yeah.
I know that it's super competitive and those guys are absolutely crazy. You know, like the gap in qualifying from like first to 17th is like a 10th.
Yeah.
So I don't know how they do it. Honestly, it really is quite something. But hopefully F124 can be improved a bit so they can actually have another series very soon.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sure.
Final question before we get into the rapid fire round. Maybe the hottest question that we have going into the rapid fire round. We saw the movie Gran Turismo. Steve, what are your thoughts on the movie Gran Turismo and the portrayal just generally of racing in movies and TV?
I was in it.
Yeah.
I was in so obviously it's a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
I was in it for
Do you get an IMDb now?
yeah, of course. Yeah. You know what? It was like, how to describe it? Like, honest opinion is like a 6 out of 10 film. It was like, it's watchable. It's not going to set the world alight. It was quite funny seeing things like they're at Le Mans, but it's actually the Hungaroring. Like, you just, as obviously anyone who knows anything about racing is like, no, you cannot trick me. That is not Le Mans. But you know what? I watched it in a theatre in London, like just before it came out.
Okay.
And it was like a pre-screening for like lots of people. And you know, lots of people were like really getting behind it. They really enjoyed it. And like when Jan went for the win at the end and got it, or the podium, sorry, like everyone was applauding. And you know what? People enjoyed it. And I quite like that. But yeah, racing in films is always a bit, they have to simplify it because the problem with racing is like, it's too hard to see the difference. Because if Max does a certain lap time and then let's say Lewis Hamilton does a lap time 1/10 slower, like you can't see the difference. You just can't.
Yeah.
It just looks the same. So they have to kind of make it more dramatic than it really is.
Yeah.
But having said that, there's quite a lot of films recently, like the Le Mans film, Ford versus Ferrari.
Amazing.
I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Like a really good film. So there's really good films out there.
Rush.
Rush is amazing. If you see past the intricacies of it, and like then it's fine. Even like Ferrari, that Ferrari film came out like 6 months ago. That had some of the on-track moments were a bit iffy. Like hits a curb and then he flies literally 50 feet in the air. It's like that wouldn't happen. But yeah, there's some great films out there, and it's really good. I think that people are getting into motorsport. Yeah, I think it's just a good thing in general. It's something that I've always tried to champion on my YouTube account, YouTube videos, just trying to make motorsport and racing and sim racing seem more approachable. Because it can be very boring if you just look at it in a certain way. I mean, the same could be said of F1. Like 20 years ago, it was boring. The way that they portrayed it, like the graphics and not really focusing on the drivers and
their
things
personalities.
It was boring, and I don't blame people for not watching it. But now it is more watchable. It's more interesting. So yeah.
We haven't done this actually in a while, but Henny, how would you rate that?
Should we give him a yellow sector? No, I'm joking. I think that's a good green.
Oh, I was thinking purple,
green.
But all right. Yeah, maybe a purple.
I think he's going to get a purple.
Our other co-hosts hate when we say that, but Henny and I love it. We love it. Stay tuned, guys. We're going to have a wonderful rapid fire round coming up with Steve. Hopefully he can answer the questions.
Yeah, he's going to get a purple there.
We'll see you. Welcome back to the Track Limits podcast. We're getting to the rapid fire round. Steve, how do you feel? Nervous?
Yeah, I do a little bit.
Ooh, more nervous than the Nürburgring, or?
Yeah, well, not like last time because I wasn't even racing.
True that.
Well, the good thing is you can't get disqualified from this round.
Or can you?
Or can you actually?
Watch this.
Oh yeah, gets himself canceled. Can you imagine? First question: the greatest driver of all time, in your opinion?
Ooh.
Oh, that is a really tough one.
Outside of Lando, because we,
Yeah.
conflict of interest.
I think Senna.
Okay. Great.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, I think Ayrton Senna.
Yeah, okay. Most unpopular opinion you have.
It could be about anything, by the way.
It doesn't
About
have to be
anything.
racing.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't have to be about race.
That's pretty tough. I don't know. Wait, let me think of one.
We should do a compilation at the end of
people
everyone
just
just like,
waiting.
what?
Yeah.
Everyone gets hung up on this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to. I don't know what's unpopular.
You have like a hot take opinion on music, movies, what's underrated, overrated?
I mean, there's songs that I don't like that everyone likes. Kings of Leon, Sex on Fire. I hate it.
Okay.
Like, everyone like, comes on in a nightclub, and I'm just like,
I'm leaving.
I'm going. Or Mr. Brightside.
Oh,
The Killers. Yeah, I don't like it.
Just overplayed, or you just didn't like it at all?
Yeah, I don't know. It brings back bad memories of like, I don't know. I just don't like it.
Yeah.
It's just they have better songs. Both of those
Yeah,
bands
they
have better songs, which are just fundamentally better to listen to.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
That's a good one. That's actually a good one.
What technical directive would you put into F1 for 2026 onwards?
You know what? I was watching a lot of footage from early 2000s, and I really like the smaller cars. I think they're much more raceable. I think now they're a bit too clunky, a bit too big, especially at Monaco. Like that just proves it's borderline unraceable because of how big they are. So I would say just making them smaller. Just take 30% off or 25% of the length off. Those cars from sort of 2003, 2004, I really like the size of those cars. I'm not necessarily saying I have to bring back the engines as good as they were, but the size, I think, just make them a bit smaller.
Yeah. Okay. This one's going to be funny. Most embarrassing moment you had on a race weekend or at a race weekend?
I mean, we spoke about it earlier.
Yeah.
I think trying to find the paddock on my first weekend and literally driving around the whole paddock and be like, excuse me, I don't know where I'm going. Can
Were
you
you
tell me?"
like the only one doing that?
Yeah, because my car was prepared really late and everyone else, you have to go
Already
to like an assembly area
Yeah.
before the race. And I had no idea where it was. It's not like you just drive into the pit lane in an F1 car, you're just in the pit lane.
Yeah.
This is, you have to drive some weird place that's miles away. So I'm just like circling, not knowing where I'm going. Everyone's like, look at this guy, where's he going? Why is he going that way? So that was pretty embarrassing.
Oh, God.
Gotcha. If you could switch lives with anyone for one day, who would it be? What would you do?
Oof. That's an interesting one. Elon Musk and then transfer all his money to my account.
You imagine the next day he wakes up, it's like, what? To wire transfer?
Zero
balance?
and then why is this random dude like
Yeah.
got 150 billion? I don't know, mate.
That would drive Tesla stock down, so
Yeah.
we wouldn't be fans of that. But
You know what? I would like to be maybe I'd pick Kevin Estre. He's like a Porsche factory driver. Only get one day, but just drive around the Nürburgring in a Porsche GT4.
Yep.
That guy is insane around that track, and I just love watching what he does.
Yeah, okay. That's a good one. What's one thing you admire about Lando Norris when it comes to his involvement in Quadrant?
Lando is just like really just relaxed. He's just like really on it, like, how to describe it? I think some F1 drivers, it would feel like you're imposing on them. You can't really have a conversation with them. Both Lando, he just seems like a normal guy. He just turns up and he's like, hey, how's it going? And it's just like, it's very easy to get along with. So yeah, that's like the most noticeable thing, you know, from someone who's a world-class athlete who's got no time and is traveling all the time.
Yeah.
For him to be like that is great.
Imagine you were on the F1 grid next year. Outside of Lando, who would you want as your teammate?
Who would I want? I mean, I suppose you got to go with. Have you just got to go with like the worst driver? then it gives you the best chance.
Oh no, I don't want to know your answer.
I don't know. You know what? I mean, it's actually really hard trying to think of all of them now. Oh, that's actually a really hard one. I think I would actually really like to be teammates with Alex Albon.
Hey, okay. That would be fun.
People say I look like him a bit.
You
I
do.
can kinda see it,
depends
yeah.
on the
Angle.
it depends on the angle.
Yeah.
I think that'd be really fun.
Yeah.
Like, I think he's genuinely like a really cool person, really nice guy. So I think he'd be really good to get on with, and I don't think it'd be too hard to sort of have a nice relationship.
Yeah.
Because I think certain drivers it will get quite heated quite quickly.
Yeah.
Like your teammates with Ocon, and it's
Yeah.
like first lap he's running off, and it's just like, and then I have to go
Looking
back,
for the pit lane. Where is it? yeah.
have to go and do a team debrief with him. Like, oh,
Yeah,
you're like,
yeah.
I would hate that.
Yeah.
But Alex, I think you can get on with.
Yeah.
Yep.
So would it be Esteban who you not want as a teammate, or somebody else?
I think so. I mean, like, I respect him. You know, I think he is a very good driver. But I think, from what I've seen, he's got a track record of like being very aggressive with teammates. I just don't think it would be easy. It wouldn't be an easy
best,
life,
yeah.
right? So I'd say Esteban. Yeah.
But what is the most overasked question that you typically get?
How's Lando doing? Can you give this to Lando?
Like bracelets. Or
yeah. I mean, this. Honestly, I would if I could.
Yeah.
I would love to.
Yeah.
But I would have to like get a storage unit because I don't see him often enough.
Yeah.
I have to stockpile it. And
Well, then do you ever take and just steal it? Like,
I can't say I've done that.
It's mine now.
But yeah, I mean, often that's like in a quadrant sense. But when's the next race and can you sponsor me? It comes up a lot recently.
Yeah.
Like for karting or.
Yeah.
To be honest, a nice question is actually like, how do I start sim racing or how do I start karting?
Yeah.
And that's a really nice question to get. And a lot of people do ask that because it shows that people they've watched something I've made and be like, oh, I want to do that. So I like that question. That's a nice one.
Okay. What's your favorite guilty pleasure TV show?
Ooh, guilty.
Yeah.
Ooh, you know what? Like, I was watching with my girlfriend last year. Is it Love is Blind?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Is that the show where you have like a veil and you don't actually know?
Yeah, you're
okay.
dating, but you can't see
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
So you can only sort of talk. And like that is something I would never click on. Never ever would I click on it.
Yeah.
Then I was watching, I was like, it's all right.
Yeah.
To be fair, a lot of those kind of shows, like reality TV shows and dating, is like, on the face of it, they look a bit naff to me, but you're watching, it's like, it's all right.
Yeah.
It's not too bad.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
It's drama. It's entertaining.
Second last question. What piece of racing memorabilia would you like to own or do you currently own that you're just super like proud of?
Yeah, I don't really have any from like F1 or from my racing career too much. It's all my own stuff, which doesn't really count. But you know what would be really cool? When I first watched F1, I was a massive fan of Mick Hakkinen in the McLaren, and then a fan of Kimi Räikkönen in the McLaren as well. So if I could just have like a race helmet of both of them, I love those 90s style race helmets, and they're my two favorite drivers. Yeah. That would be amazing. I would put them like front and center in the living room.
Wow, that's a good one. Okay, so you're writing an autobiography on your life. Which of these resonate with you? So we got the daredevil, the dream catcher, the free spirit, or the hardest worker?
Not the hardest worker. I'd say Dreamcatcher.
Dreamcatcher.
Because it has been a bit of a dream, to be honest. You know, all the things I've been able to do.
Yeah.
And it's felt like a bit of a dream because it's not been planned or structured. Yeah. It kind of just, things happen. Do you want to come and do this? Do you want to come and do this race? Do you want to race here? It's like, whoa, okay, yeah. And it just feels a very unplanned and just, Dreamcatcher's probably the right one.
Boom.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Steve, for coming on.
Purple sector.
Purple, definitely, 100%. Except for that one question.
Yeah, we stumped him a little.
But Mr. Brightside was that's an interesting answer.
That alone.
The next time it comes on, I think I'm just going to be thinking about Steve. Like, don't play this.
Skip.
But no, thank you so much for coming on. We're 100% rooting for you. You know, it's so exciting to see people going after their dreams, especially, you know, the fact that you've done such an incredible job creating content, inspiring so many people, but now constantly doing that through your own actions on a real life racetrack. Yeah. It's pretty incredible. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys. Cheers.
That's a wrap, guys. Go check out Steve. We're going to put all his socials below. And if you haven't checked out our other episodes, go and check them out in our YouTube channel. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. We'll see you guys in the next episode.